Hello there, YouTubers. Neighbor Bob here. What'd it be like? It is 11/9/17, and if you happen by this video, it must have been to learn something about getting off of benzodiazepines or benzos. Let me first start out by saying that I'm no medical professional, that any time you need medical help or medical instruction, you should go to an MD, and that everything I say here will just be my own opinion, so take that for what it's worth. That being said, in my opinion, regular MDs will eventually kill you if you give them the time to do so. But that's just my own opinion. Anyway, who am I to be telling you anything about benzodiazepine withdrawal? I am a 61-year-old male that has been interested in all things health since I was about 15 years old. That would include weightlifting, supplements, healthy living, many things of that nature, anything to do with health. So that being said, I worked in the printing field for 27 years, from the time I was like 16 till I was like 42, somewhere around in there, which at that time, mostly for the same company, which at that time I was retired with a long-term solvent injury, aromatic solvent, benzene, a solvent with benzene, trimethylbenzene, 1, 2, 3, things of that nature. Anyway, that solvent injury, excuse me, gave me a diagnosis of toxic encephalopathy, minor. That is brain damage from chemicals. Just a touch, that wasn't a lot. And also MCS, or multiple chemical sensitivity, and also some fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome and things of that nature. So anyway, I went to my my solvent injury was back in 1998, which I have been retired since then for the past 19 years, medically retired on dual pensions. So I went to my neurologist and my injury, and I used to sleep great. All of a sudden, with this solvent injury to my brain, this brain injury, I started sleeping terrible insomnia, panic attacks, anxiety, things that I'd never experienced before. I'd always been a very emotionally stable person in the past before this injury. He kept trying to put me on these Klonopin, benzodiazepine Klonopin. Now, let me tell you that the main benzos like Xanax, Valium, Klonopin, and Ativan are not all the benzos, and a lot of them have quite different names than that. There's about 10 different benzos, main ones, with about 10 different generic equivalents. So you're probably looking at 20, 25 different drugs that you could be on. You could say, well, I'm not on any of those you mentioned. Well, you could be on a benzo and not know it. So take the name of your benzo. Easiest way to do it is call your pharmacy and say, I'm on this. What class of drug is that? And if they say it's a benzodiazepine, you'll know that you're taking a very, very addictive, damaging drug. We were all told when we were younger, don't smoke marijuana because it's very addictive, and then you smoke some and you're like, hell, that ain't addictive, and don't do any cocaine, because if you try that, that may be really addictive. You try it a couple times and you put it down and you're like, oh, that wasn't that addictive. I'm here to tell you, when they tell you benzodiazepines are addictive, they are terribly addictive. I think more so than heroin. I had no idea when I got into this. Well, I sort of did. He tried to stick me on this drug clear back when I first got injured. I was averaging 1.5 to 2 hours sleep per 24 hours. I was basically a zombie. Very, very bad insomnia. With all the other problems, and I went on with this. I tried everything that I knew of at the time in my toolbox to battle that insomnia. I tried valerian root, kava kava, chamomile, L-tryptophan, 5-HTP, every natural known thing, calming agent to help you sleep, known to melatonin. What else? There's just so many things I forgot all of them. Some of them help some, but not enough. That finally, after 2 years of battling this, after I was about 44 years old, in about the year 2000, I let him talk me into putting me on some, oh, this will help you sleep. This is Klonopin. Didn't know what Klonopin was. Didn't know it was a benzo. Now, if he'd have said Valium, I would have known what that is, because my dad is 90 now, and he's taken Valium for 60, 70 years of his life for a bad back that he got in the service. So I was very familiar with Valium. Valium comes in 2, 5, and 10 milligram tablets, where these other ones are completely different dosages for these other ones like Klonopin. So he put me on 0.5 milligrams of Klonopin. That's not a lot, right? No, didn't sound like a lot. Worked good. I slept, a lot better. Was a lot calmer, and and then later on, it kind of wore off. I was getting the nervousness coming back, and he said, "Well, we'll just up you to 1 milligram, and then 1.5, and then 2." So 2 is the largest pill in Klonopin. 0.5 is the smallest, and 2 is, they have a 0.5, a 1, and a 2. Now I can only talk about Klonopin and Valium because I've been on those two, but the others, you'll have to do the math on those. But I was on those 2 milligrams of Klonopin for about 13 years, up until about middle 2015. And I decided I wasn't even sleeping that good on them anymore. And I was come across on something on the internet by a Dr. Heather Ashton of the UK Benzo Clinic. You can Google her yourself. I'll probably put a link in the description down below. Dr. Heather Ashton has a protocol for tapering off of benzos that worked very well for me. Now, mind you, what worked very well for me might not work very well for you, because we're all different. We're all on different things. We all have different things going on with our lives. So that being said, what I'm telling you is take what you can from it. Try to garner anything that you might be able to get from it. I hope you can, because this is a very, very terrible thing to get off of. I can tell you that from experience. And I am off of it. I have beat benzos. I whooped their ass. It took a while. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. Okay, I was on these, I call them 3 devils in a bottle. These are mostly 2 milligrams that are left of Valium. How did I get on Valium from Klonopin? Klonopin, the generic Klonopin is clonazepam, so you've got to watch out with these names, what they tell you. So I was taking clonazepam, but that's Klonopin. I went to the Benzo Clinic, Dr. Heather Ashton. Her schedule said that the equivalent of Valium, if you were to not take the Klonopin and you were to replace the 2 milligrams of Klonopin with Valium, guess how much Valium you'd be taking? I can tell you that a 5 milligram tablet of Valium is good enough to take muscle spasms out of most people, make them feel very calm. A 10 milligram, if you have severe muscle spasms, 10 milligrams will put the average person pretty much down. You feel like a big limp sack of putty. It's a muscle relaxant. Very, very calming muscle relaxant. Just makes your muscles feel like they're not there. The equivalent of 2 milligrams of Klonopin, according to Dr. Heather Ashton, is 40 milligrams of Valium I was taking every single night before bed. When I heard that, I about had a heart attack. I said, I have got to get off this crap. And I did. I went by her schedule exactly. I went into my doctor. I printed out her protocol. My DO took a look at it, my local DO, and he says, it seems you know more about this than I do. Looks like a good plan to me. Let's do it. So that very day, he replaced my 2 milligram pills of Klonopin with 5 milligram pills of Valium. Now I started with 5s because that would be 8 5s I was taking per night. And I wanted to be able to drop the dosage down, and they're scored in the middle, so I wanted to be able to cut them. Now, some people do a liquid withdrawal. I don't know anything about that. I did not do that one, where they crush the pills, suspend them in liquid. That's probably a better way to do it, maybe a more accurate way, but I did not do it that way. I broke the pills with a pill splitter, and I started out with, one night I'm on 2 milligrams of Klonopin at 9 or 10 o'clock before I go to bed. And the next day, thanks to my doctor, I'm taking 40 milligrams excuse me, of Valium. I stayed on that 40 for a while to let my body, I didn't notice any difference. In fact, I felt fine transferring over to the Valium. I tend to have myself, I've had a lot of muscle spasm trouble and things from anxiety, low back, neck, muscle spasms. Uh, I started to go down about a week later after being on the Valium. I cut 0.5 milligrams. So I was taking 40, and I went down to 39.5 milligrams. And for the next 3 nights, I literally thought I was going to die. Valium has a fairly long, these different drugs have different half-lives in the body. They'll stay in your body longer. Valium has a shorter half-life than the Klonopin did, but I mean, some of the side effects were just astronomical. I mean, I can't even believe some of the side effects. Let me go into some of the withdrawal side effects from, this is from Wikipedia. These are just some of them you might experience. Sleep disturbance, irritability, increased tension, anxiety, panic attacks, hand tremors, sweating, difficulty with concentration, confusion, cognitive difficulty, memory problems, dry retching, whatever that is, and nausea, weight loss, palpitations, headache, muscular pain, stiffness, a host of perceptual changes. And these things can go on for not months, but several years after you withdraw off the stuff. I was amazed. And I thought, just dropping that by 0.5 on a steady basis. 3 days, I felt like somebody took a half-inch re-rod, jammed it down my spine and my neck. Terrible muscle spasms in my low back. I would lay there and just look at the ceiling, sweating. And normally I'm a fairly emotional, stable guy. I don't have a lot of trouble with my emotions flying around and stuff. I thought I was going to go freaking crazy. I mean, it was amazing. I just about stopped right then. Now, where I got into the most trouble, they say to stay at that dose for 1 to 2 weeks. I wanted to get off that stuff quick, so about every 3 days, I wouldn't sleep good for 3 days, and about the 4th day, when I started sleeping better, I would drop it another 0.5. That was a mistake, because that is the symptoms. The withdrawal symptoms are just more than you can handle. You can throw yourself into a seizure. You can kill yourself if you're on a high enough dose and you quit cold turkey. So this stuff ain't no joke. I'm here to tell you it's not any joke. So you want to take it very seriously. I would advise every time you cut that down. She has like a 10-week protocol, I believe, if you take it for Dr. Ashton. If you cut it down by 0.5 milligrams, the Valium every night, I would stay on each cut down dose for at least 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks. It takes a while to get off of it, but it's worth not having some of the symptoms that I came up with there. The side effects were just horrific. So I would do 2 weeks, and then I would go down to 39 milligrams, and I would stay there for 2 weeks, and I'd go to 38.5, 2 weeks, and so on and so forth. So there's a reference point there that you can start with. I can tell you that was one of the hardest things, probably the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life is getting that monkey, so to speak, off my back. That stuff is so addictive. I had no idea. I had no idea that it had that kind of hold on me. No idea whatsoever. It's just absolutely terrible. Now, coming down off the higher doses at first, it wasn't that bad compared to what it was when I got down to, say, 2 milligrams instead of 40. When I got down to that last 2 milligrams, that was very hard to get off that last 2 milligrams. I was just slowing your thing way down there. I would stay, once you get down to 3 milligrams and you cut down to 2.5 to 2, I would stay at those doses for at least 3 weeks. And I was taking by that time I had replaced my 5 milligram pills, Valium tablets with 2 milligrams, which are what these are. There's tons of them in there. And they're scored also, so half of that would be 1.5 milligrams. And then I would break a 1.5 in half. You know, so when I got down toward the end, so that's the best I could do, is the smallest dose I could get. But those last couple of milligrams, they were hell to get off of. And I did get off of them. And I found some things for myself that work to sleep better. Luckily, I don't have a job for the last 19 years. That helps tremendously. If I have a bad night's sleep, I can just go back to bed later or sleep in my chair or whatever I want to do. But some of the things that work for me now, maybe they weren't working then. I've tried some of them then. They didn't work then. What happens with these benzos, I sort of understand that the way they work, they're like, they work on your GABA neurotransmitters in your brain. You get these, say, these signals firing in your brain, and something happens like my solvent exposure that irritate the heck out of these things. I mean, it's like if you took them and scraped them on a grater board and then dipped them in gasoline and scraped them on a board some more and lit them on fire. That's about where my neurons were flying out of my brain when I first got my solvent injury. It was just absolutely horrible. Well, these benzodiazepines, they go in and they calm this, they soothe these. So what I would say, they just kind of deaden these senses. So it makes you sort of flatline too. If you're on benzos, you probably realize this. You don't have a lot of, oftentimes you're kind of a flatline personality. You don't have a lot of high highs. You're not like real cheerful. You know, you don't smile a lot, things like that. Maybe, or even you don't get sad as much as some people do. Maybe somebody will die and you think, well, geez, I should be crying. You're not, you know. But if you've been on benzos a long time, they do deaden your senses a lot. So, and that lasts for quite some time after you get off of them. How long have I been off of them now? I would say about January of this upcoming year, coming up here in a couple months, I will be off of them for 2 years. So I would say I whoop their ass, because I take now. Every week or two, I'll take a couple of 2 or 3 500 milligram tablets of L-tryptophan. That seems to work very well for me. A amino acid that helps sleep a lot. I just go back down. I sleep from like 10:30 at night to usually 3:30 in the morning when my wife gets up to go to work. So 5 hours, and then I stay up and she goes to work. She leaves about 4:30, and I go back down about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and sleep another 2 or 3 hours and try to get 7, 8 hours of sleep total, which I've been getting, and I feel much better, because you have to sleep. You have to get at least, I'd say at least 7 hours of sleep to function a night, or your health in general is going to be crap. So anyway, there's probably a lot more I could go into, but I wanted to go into that. I will put, I believe I'll go ahead and put my email down in my personal email down in the link. And if you want to shoot me an email, if you're having some problems or things you think maybe I could answer a couple questions for you. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to be a doctor. But I think since I have beat this, there's probably some things I could tell you about. Just be sure to put "Hi Bob" in the subject line of the email so I don't miss it, because I get a lot of emails. And I would be glad to do what I can to shed some light on the subject of benzo withdrawal for you. There's much more to go into about this, but I think generally I covered it. It is not something that you're going to get off of overnight. And let me say this, that unless you really want to get off of this, you're really committed, you really got it in your head that you want to get off. You don't want to be addicted to something like this for the rest of your life. It's super hard on your liver. It's not good for anything. They are just a horrific thing. And they claim anybody that's been on them for even, you're not supposed to be on them for any more than a few weeks at a time. It's supposed to be a spot help, even when they do use them for like muscle spasms. But people get on them, and next thing you know, you're taking a little more of them, and they just say, "Oh, you make me feel so good, I'll just stay on them." Well, like I did. The time you do that, you're screwed. So, oh, there's what the timer must be about out of time. All right, so I hope that helped you some. What? And if you have any questions, put them down in the box there, and maybe I can go into them on a later video. And you guys take care and stay safe. And I hope that you can beat benzos like I did. You can if you want to. Take care.